What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the PG Pirates Show presented by FanDuel. My name's Colin Beazley, here with Noah Hiles, and we are here with some actual Pirates news to talk about today. This isn't a regular offseason show where we suggest, this is maybe what's working or what's happening or whatever. We have actual, tangible news today. Earlier today, the Pirates made a 3-team trade with the Rays and Houston Astros. They acquired second baseman Brandon Lowe from the Rays, as well as, let me make sure.
Jake Mangum and Mason Montgomery.
Jake Mangum and Mason Montgomery. I didn't remember Mangum's first name.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure I got that right.
Yeah.
Jake Mangum and Mason Montgomery, and they only gave up Mike Burrows to the Astros to do it. Big deal. A name that they've been linked to a lot with Brandon Lowe. Noah, what were your immediate thoughts on this? And thank you for joining, as always.
You're welcome, Colin. I appreciate you telling Ben Cherington to wait to make this move until Friday, the day that you and I record these videos. So, this is fun. But in all seriousness, my immediate takeaways, I have a few. One, I might have considered this deal even if Brandon Lowe wasn't a part of it. I think it completes your left field platoon with Garcia. These two guys complement each other's game a lot. They both have tons of control, and I think could eventually both end up being everyday players in your outfield if the right things go their way in this upcoming season. I like Montgomery's potential as a lefty out of the bullpen, just the 2-pitch guy, fastball, slider. Obviously, that fastball is live, 100 miles an hour. And the Pirates tend to do well with these types of projects. So I would have considered just that alone for Burrows, a guy who isn't going to even have a guarantee to be in their opening day rotation next year as currently assembled. But what obviously makes this deal great is the addition of Lowe, who only has 1 year of club control, but hit 31 home runs last year. He was playing in a pretty hitter-friendly park. I think he's more realistically a 20 to 25 home run guy, but the Pirates were missing that. This is a guy who's had playoff experience, someone who can hit in the middle third of your lineup, the top third of your lineup, and be an anchor, give some protection to guys like O'Neal Cruz and Brian Reynolds, and be a veteran double play partner for whenever Connor Griffin's ready. So I think there's a lot to add here. It's probably the biggest win now move they've made in Cherington's tenure, acquiring a player of this caliber, giving up a pitcher of Burrows' caliber, who I know I just said he would be competing to make the opening day rotation, but had a strong rookie showing, has all these years of control, and has the potential to be, an impact in that rotation well after Skeens is gone. So it's a gamble, of course, because you don't know how these youngsters are going to play out, and you only get Lowe for 1 year. But this is exactly the type of new move they needed to make, and they got it done.
Yeah, I completely agree. I will say I'm maybe a little bit higher on Mike Burrows than you are. That's not to say I think this isn't a good move.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a very good move. A little bit higher on Mike Burrows, just considering how strong he was as a rookie. I mean, 3.94 ERA, 19 starts. Yeah, just 96 innings, but he was really solid for the Pirates. He's someone that, given that team control, I could see him pitching in the Astros rotation up through I think he's arbitration eligible in 2029. So he could be a legitimate piece of that Astros rotation up until 2031, 2032. But also, this is a move that the Pirates needed to make. This is a move where they are very clearly prioritizing 2026. They've talked about that a lot. They've said they intend on competing in 2026. This move shows it. You're trading away a guy that will be valuable to you in the future, a guy that has that much control in Burrows, for someone where the best part of the deal in Lowe is probably here for 1 year. Maybe you extend them, but probably 1 year. I'm impressed that they actually went out and did it. This isn't just talk. This is an actual move, and I really like it.
Yeah, and I think going back to your point on Burrows, I look at it, I mean, there were, 5 rookie pitchers who debuted for them last year? Chandler, Burrows, Ashcraft, Barco, and Harrington. I'd put Burrows 4th as far if we're ranking ceilings of potential. I mean, Chandler has the highest. I think Ashcraft was the best of the bunch last season. Barco has a higher ceiling than Burrows, I think, although both of them have their arm history issues. And the fact that Barco's the only lefty in pretty much this entire organization that's big league ready right now gives him some additional points. Yeah, I think Harrington and Burrows would have been the two I would have been most willing to part way with out of that group. And the fact that you could get this for Mike Burrows is a tremendous opportunity. I mean, obviously, yeah, we'll see how this unfolds like every other trade. Burrows could end up being great and all three of these guys could stink and it could just be another bad luck Pirates trade. But as of the time of this recording, it looks like the Pirates got a really big haul again for someone who might have been on the outside looking in for this year's starting rotation. Bees, I'll keep the conversation moving here now. When you look at what this team has as far as what it's added with Garcia and Mangum in the outfield, with Lowe at second base, it's added now 2 left-handers to its bullpen with Montgomery and then Soto, who you spoke with earlier today. What else is there to do now before opening day? What other moves should this team be looking to make? And what moves did they maybe have anticipated to make are no longer moves that they should make?
There's a lot in there. That's a good question.
I'm paid to ask those good questions.
You do. You do. I mean, I wrote in my analysis piece on this article, on this trade, that this is a move that it doesn't vault the Pirates into World Series contention or anything, but it is a step towards towards contention. It shows that you're serious, but there is still more to do, as you mentioned. I think it depends on what you do with Brandon Lowe and how cute you get with it. There are a couple different things that you can do there. One of the things that I found interesting is looking at his stats is that he wasn't a particularly good defender at second base in 2025. Some of that might have been he dealt with an ankle injury and an oblique injuries. Maybe health had something to do with that, but I'm interested to see whether the Pirates view him as their everyday second baseman or whether they are planning on DHing him a little bit. He'll be in the lineup every day. I'm confident in that. But if he's at second base, then maybe Nick Gonzalez is your shortstop and Triolo's your third baseman until Connor Griffin's here. Maybe if he's at second, if he's your designated hitter, maybe you have Gonzalez stay at second and you need to add a third baseman. I still think that you need a major bat. I think that Gino Suarez should be the guy that they still go after. They should still have money for him. Maybe even a guy like Okamoto is someone that ends up in the mix as well. I think you still need a big bat, ideally a right-hander, considering you now have a couple of impact lefties. But this still is a solid step.
Yeah, I think they need to add 2 bats. You look at third base, that's the most obvious spot. And you have a whole bunch of different options to do that. You mentioned Gino Suarez. He's probably the top target, or should be, on their list at third base. But, I mean, you have the 2 Japanese guys, Okamoto and Murakami. Both of those guys slot in at third as well. And I think that's your opportunity to get something a little bit more long-term, whereas Suarez is already in his 30s. And if you're looking for something 4 or 5 years in the deal range as opposed to 2-3, you could go there and it would probably be a little bit more affordable than what you'd pay Suarez. I also think they have trade capital to still use Bees. I don't think Mitch Keller is on the table anymore, or at least I don't think he should be. But you look at some of the prospects they still have available to trade. They really haven't traded any of their farm this offseason. They've traded Johan Oviedo, who threw less than 50 innings, and Mike Burrows, who threw less than 100 innings last year. And you figure between Harrington and Barco, they can replicate Oviedo's production, and Chandler alone should replicate what Burrows did. So their rotation's still the same. You can move some of those younger guys in Double-A, maybe like an Antoine Kelly or someone along that line of prospect status. Tamar Johnson is another guy that I think could be worth moving. Guys who are in Altoona or just made it to Indy, you could package them together and get yourself a third baseman too. Someone I look at like Alec Baum, who's been in trade rumors. He's a little bit more affordable than probably any of those free agents they named. And he's a multi-year acquisition as well. Someone who would lengthen your lineup. And then as far as the outfield or the DH, that second bat, you got to figure out, like you said, Colin, what you're doing with Lowe. And I also think what you're doing with Brian Reynolds. If you want Brian Reynolds to be your everyday DH, I think that's fine. He's a switch hitter, so you can get a good platoon matchup on either side. But you need to find a quality defender. Like if you're really getting rid of Reynolds, you need to have a league average bat. And not a liability out there in right field. I think long-term, maybe Mangum and Garcia can both end up being everyday outfielders, but I don't think that that's a fair thing to thrust upon either one of them in 2026. Or you could go traditional DH. They've obviously been linked to Ryan O'Hearn. They've obviously been linked to Marcell Ozuna. O'Hearn would be the multi-year long-term option. Ozuna would be a plug and play. You could also bring back Andrew McCutchen if you wanted, although I would argue the former two names that I just listed would probably give you a better chance to contend if they were your everyday designated hitters. The grand point that I'm trying to make here, though, is that, yes, they need two bats, and there are a lot of options that play into where those bats would fit into this lineup. All things considered, we're recording this December 19th. The Pirates are a better team than what they were at the end of this regular season. And I think that they will move forward just one or two moves away from being a team that actually has a decent chance to compete for the postseason.
Yeah, I completely agree with all you said there. Going back to what you said about the moves that they might not make, I agree that this likely takes a Mitch Keller deal off the table. I think that they probably haven't gotten exactly what they were hoping for in the trade market. I think that they've discussed them, and I think that if there had been something where they were confident in the return, they would have done it by now. I think that this move kind of shows that there wasn't something there. But I also think that Mitch Keller is more valuable now, considering the depth has been brought into. I think that they'll probably go after a free agent pitcher. I think that it's worthwhile to get a number 5 starter, get a lefty like a Jose Quintana or whatever.
I would say I look at a guy like Nestor Cortez, someone who would be a little bit of a reclamation project. Someone I would go find your Andrew Heaney, right? Yeah. That's been their MO. Every offseason they sign it. If it's Martin Perez, Andrew Heaney, Tyler Anderson, Jose Quintana, they've had pretty good success getting these veteran lefties to come in here and pitch at PNC Park. I mean, Heaney was probably the worst out of all of them. But even he had a solid first half. And I really think that's all you need. I'm going shopping for a left-handed starter to be my number 4 or number 5 for the first half of the season. I'm telling him, I need you to cover 80 innings for me until Hunter Barco is ready to go for the majors. And then when we get to that point, depending on your performance, you can either stick around in the rotation or get moved to the bullpen. And a guy like Cortez, I think, makes sense because he has experience in both realms. Although, he has allowed one famous home run in relief out of the bullpen. But overall, I think he would be a good option.
Yeah. So if we both agree that there is more to do, that is clear that this is a good move. They're closer to contending. They're closer to being a good team in 2026. But there is more to do. If you had one move and you're like, this is what's next, what would you pick? Who would be your next big swing?
I'll give it a tie. I would trade for Ryan O'Hearn, or not trade. I would sign Ryan O'Hearn, or I would trade for Alec Baum. Those would be my two. I just think I don't get a sense that Suarez is really interested in coming to Pittsburgh. Maybe this move will change that. The Japanese guys, I think, have a very high reward, but also a high level of risk. I think your big move now, if you're the Pirates, regardless of what it looks like, is signing a multi-year free agent. You've checked off a lot of things that fans have wanted to see you do for a while. You acquired a big league-ready, top 100 rated prospect in your first trade. You acquired an established power bat that you can slate in the middle of your order and feel confident that he will give you consistent production with Lowe. You've added some controllable talent that you can maybe mold into a platoon guy with Mangum and then a bullpen weapon with Montgomery. Now it's time to make a long-term commitment through free agency, something that has not happened since, Bees was essentially in diapers. I was in college. It's been a long time. I don't think you were in diapers in 2016, Colin. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I think the next move is signing a multi-year free agent. I don't know what that looks like. It could be Suarez, could be O'Hearn, could be one of the Japanese guys, could be someone else. I think there are also trades to be made, but I think if you really want to get the Pirates fans happy, you've taken 2 good steps forward so far. Go and sign that franchise record free agent deal make it multi-year, make it a name people are aware of, and get people invested in this ball club. You're not far away from doing so. Push the ball over the finish line.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. One of the things that I'm really interested in seeing is how, and I'll answer my own question for after, but one of the things I'm really interested in seeing is if this sort of trade, this sort of commitment to winning in 2026 has an impact on the free agent market. There have been a couple of guys that I've heard out there who the Pirates are interested in, but they're not as interested in coming to Pittsburgh because there hasn't been a commitment to winning. They haven't been sure on that. Won't name names there, but that sort of thing, this kind of shows that you're really trying. There is a commitment to winning in 2026 there. Maybe a guy who wasn't as interested in coming to Pittsburgh earlier in this offseason, maybe they're willing to go and renegotiate. They're willing to, their ears have perked up a little bit. Maybe I do want to go there. And then to answer my question, the question I asked you, my big move would be Gino Suarez. Yeah. I've said it time and time again on this show. I've pounded the table for him. I still think there's still room in the payroll for it.
Yeah.
And this is somewhere where having a bat first third baseman, a guy with legitimate power, a right-handed bat in the middle of the lineup, I really do think it would do a lot of really good things for this lineup. I think that he's someone that's a good clubhouse guy that could help improve some of the Pirates' young players, could help protect them in the lineup. And I think that he's someone that you would need to sign to a multi-year free agent deal. It wouldn't be a major 3-year thing. It would probably be 2 years. I think that you could get him for something that isn't that expensive, and I think that he'd be very, very valuable here.
Jorge Polanco money.
Yeah. Honestly, maybe even less.
Yeah.
I'm still amazed by Polanco getting 2 years 40, but
I agree.
But hey, we'll see.
Hey, good for him.
Good for him. Happy he can get that. I don't know if I would have given him $20 million, but per year. But I don't know. I'm not David Stearns. I'm not Steve Cohen.
You are Colin Beazley, though.
I am Colin Beazley. Any final words, Noah?
No, I mean, I just want to reiterate, this does not make the Pirates a playoff team. It does make them a better team. They've made 2 trades this season, and I think they both improved their ball club both next year and moving forward. So there's reason for fans to be excited. They should hope that this is not the biggest move they make this offseason. There's still room for a bigger move to be made, and it should be made if they are serious playoff contenders.
Yeah, absolutely more to be done, but this is a positive step. This is different than years past. This is interesting. This is something to talk about. This is a real move made in December. We'll see what follows. He's Noah Hiles. I'm Colin Beazley. Thank you guys for watching the PG Pirates Show. We will talk to you next time.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.